China's President Xi Jinping is on what's been called a charm offensive across Southeast Asia, visiting Vietnam. Meanwhile, China's President Xi Jinping is on what's been called a charm offensive across Southeast Asia, visiting Vietnam, Malaysia and Cambodia. It comes as companies in China say they could be badly hit by the ongoing trade war with the US. The Trump administration put tariffs of 145% on most Chinese imports earlier this month. Beijing later responded with its own 125% tariffs on American products coming into China. Our Beijing correspondent Laura Bicker reports.
They even make shoes by the roadside in the factory of the world, where family income is measured by how many heels you can make in an hour. Here they are feeling the effects of an economic war. Workers live from contract to contract. They need orders, if not from the US, then who? But some have been lucky. This group of workers make shoes to sell within China.
The Americans are tricky. We don't trust them. Very few people are in the export business now. No one wants to trade with America. We have 1.4 billion people in the domestic market. That's enough.
Guangzhou is hosting one of the world's biggest trade fairs as the world's two largest economies wage a trade war. Everything here is for sale, and some of these goods should be making their way to American households. Instead, we're told orders from the US have been cancelled. Firms who once sold to America are in limbo as they wait and hope for talks to end this crisis.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
He's crazy man. He's crazy Trump. And I believe he always changes his mind. I believe maybe 1 month or 2 months he will change his mind again.
In the past, were there buyers from America?
Yeah, like last year, April, like 20%.
This year, zero. Nothing.
Nothing for the US market.
Many companies we've spoken to who sell to the United States have told us they are now looking for alternative markets. The reality is China's economy is still export driven. Around half of its growth in the last year has come from selling goods abroad.
Beijing also needs its neighbours to stand firm with them. President Xi is on a charm offensive in Southeast Asia, urging them to resist what he calls US bullying. China remains defiant, a show of pride as it starts to feel some pain. Goods once bound for the US are piling up in these ports. This country can withstand Donald Trump's onslaught of tariffs, but it doesn't mean it won't hurt. Laura Bicker, BBC News, Guangzhou.
All right, Shalom, Shalom, Shalom. All praises to the Most High, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, which is to say in the Paleo-Hebrew, Yahweh, which is the name of our Heavenly Father, meaning He is, Bahashem, meaning in the name, Yahweh Shai, meaning He is our salvation. And that is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, a so-called black man. All right. And what you just saw was a clip or a piece of a video of showing you how the citizens of China are handling these tariffs that America have put on its country, to the extent that they are no longer importing products here to America because of the 145% tariff. All right. So the Chinese, or should I say the Moabites, because that's their biblical name, Moab, okay? The Moabites, which goes back to Moab, they are handling this thing, from what I can see, a lot better than when it hits America, okay? Because if Trump doesn't cave in, I don't see the president of China caving in and making that phone call. So guess what? Soon, it's going to be America's turn to brace for impact, okay? Because Trump put it off for 90 days, all right? Or else America will already be feeling the heat like China is, okay? But Trump put it off for 90 days, and that was back in the beginning of April. So we talking somewhere along the line of July, the beginning or middle of July. If no calls are made or these tariffs don't resolve within here and there, the heat is going to pick back up, and it's going to be the America's turn to feel the pain, the fire, the heat, whatever you want to call it, like the Chinese are doing. See, one thing about the Chinese, they understand, okay? They understand for the betterment of their economy, they're going to go through some harsh times. But you Americans, you don't seem to realize that, all right? You have that entitled spirit, okay? You believe that you're the best, you deserve the best, everybody should bow down to you, and you can't be touched, okay? But we're going to see what the Most High does when these tariffs resume back to what they were supposed to before those 90 days were paused, okay? So soon it's going to be you Americans' turn to feel the heat, okay? You're going to feel when the stove is turned up just how much you can be self-sufficient, okay? Because one thing about these Chinese, these Moabites, they didn't have that much to begin with, okay? But you Americans, you've been pacified your whole lives, okay? So when you don't have something as luxurious as a brand new television or a television that's within reasonable, or I'm just saying a television because it could be other things, okay? It could be other things, but just using electronics, okay? Where you don't have that new latest iPhone, we're going to see how well you are equipped with going through hard times, okay? Because you're not accustomed to that, all right? And it's coming where you're going to flip out when you see the prices that you have to pay because now things are being quote unquote made in America, okay? You're going to see the prices that you have to pay, and you're going to look at yourself and ask yourself why. All right, because it doesn't get better. It only gets worse the longer this thing drags out. All right. So I typed in on Google which country consumes the most imports, and the AI overview says the United States is the country that consumes the most imports. In 2022, U.S. goods imports totaled 3.2 trillion. China follows as the second largest importer. Okay, so you see how the Chinese people are making do with it. They're doing what? Got their little side jobs, making shoes on the side of the roads and things of that magnitude. Now we know here in America, there's rules about doing things like that. Okay, so just imagine, how are you gonna scrape and get by? All right, you're not. All right, when it's the time for the American people to feel that pain, y'all gonna really start to lose it, okay? It says, here's a more detailed breakdown. U.S. imports. The United States is the world's largest importer of goods, with imports worth 3.4 trillion. Okay, that was in 2022. China's import was a little bit less, $1 trillion, almost a whole $1 trillion less. But nevertheless, they had 2.7 trillion in 2022. It says top import partners. China is a top goods importer partner for the United States. Meaning what? United States and China trades back and forth more than any other country, or at least their products total more than any other country that they trade within. And now that Trump put this 145% tariff, and who knows what it's going to go up to if China don't play ball by the end of these 90 days. Okay? They're going to have to what? Once that back pay runs out, that back supply that they got on these ports, it may take a few months. Okay? It could take a year. But once they go through all that back stock that they got, and there's no more coming in from the second largest economy, China, guess what? You Americans are going to feel the costs that they're going to have to pass on to you from what? Manufacturing these products here in America. All right, because that's what you want. Make America great again. That's what you chose and elected. Okay, that was Donald Trump's campaign. Make America great again. MAGA. So guess what comes along with making America great again? You, the consumers, being passed on the cost, the hike. Okay, and get ready. Okay, smile now, cry later, because you don't think it's going to happen to you. You think somehow it all comes back to your entitlement. You think somehow between now and those 90 days that everything is going to work out for itself. That's the mindset of the modern day American citizen. Oh, we don't worry about anything. We got the best economy. Everybody wants to be us. Everybody wants to shop with us. And we'll be all back to business as normal after these 90 days. You see, but China has said it. They're ready for whatever type of war, okay? And now it's a back and forth with this tariff war. So we shall see who's going to hold up or hold out, China or America. We're going to see who's going to fold and who's going to hold out the longest, man. All right? Trump pacified the people by giving them a 90-day tariff, but eventually those 90 days are going to come, and then it's going to be right back to square one, where you could have already been experiencing that pain and that uncomfortableness, but now it's going to hurt even more, okay? The longer you put it off, the more it hurts when you have to actually address it, okay? So speaking of address it, let's get a few precepts and see how it goes.